Into the Fog is a year-round podcast dedicated to covering Halloween Horror Nights Orlando.
From speculation season and announcements to opening night and the final screams of the event, we break down everything HHN.
Follow along for weekly discussions, rumors, news, and all things Halloween Horror Nights. Yeah, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Into the Fog, an HHN podcast. I'm your host, Woody, and with me, as always, my co-host, Dustin.
What's going on, everybody? You can catch us at our socials at Into the Fog Pod on both IG and TikTok, and Into the Fog HHN on X and YouTube. So a new spec map just came out on May 25th by Horror Night Nightmare, and we have a few changes. Some house icons have changed locations, and others have changed completely. So Woody, let's take a look at the spec map, and you go ahead and kick us off with Soundstage 22.
All right, so Soundstage 22, the code name was Balloon. This is the only confirmed house location so far this year. That's Jack and Oddfellow, Chaos and Control. I'll give you all the background of the house. It says, witness Jack the Clown's unholy origins, then enter Dr. Oddfellow's wicked and twisted universe, where the two most powerful forces in horror face off into a death match of Chaos versus Control. And if y'all want like a deeper breakdown, y'all can go back and listen to our episode last week. We did a brief history lesson and what we think will be in the house, and basically just an origin story on how Jack the Clown and Oddfellow are intertwined with one another. So if y'all would, y'all can just go check out that episode and get a very deep dive into this house and the lore behind Jack the Clown and Dr. Oddfellow. What about Soundstage 23A? D, what you got there?
So the codename is codename Car. Still have the burning book as the logo for this space, but it's only on Orlando's map. So an Orlando exclusive is what it looks like. It's no longer on the Universal Hollywood map, so they may have lost that IP. Only possibility still is we're gonna still throw it back to Evil Dead Burn, which is a movie that's still set to release July 10th. So what's your thoughts on it being taken away from Hollywood?
I just wonder what happened, if they didn't like the way the house was looking in Hollywood, or because Evil Dead Rise, it was originally set to come to both Orlando and Hollywood, but Evil Dead Rise, it fell through in Orlando, and Hollywood had it that year. So I wonder if it's just like a get back, kind of like they're not going to let Hollywood have it this year and just let Orlando. So if you want to see the Evil Dead house this year, you have to come to Orlando. Like in the past, where when it fell through and it became Hellblock Horror here, you would have to went to Hollywood to go see the Evil Dead Rise.
What's the possibility that they got what they would consider a better IP for that space?
I mean, unless it's just like a retread, which, I mean, on their map, I think it is a Machete. So they might just be doing Jason again, which I could see, because Hollywood has a lot more repeats than Orlando. Orlando, we are very spoiled, where we very rarely have like back-to-back years or a repeat in general.
And to be honest, there's only a few house concepts that I wouldn't mind having as a yearly repeat, but you don't want to burn your fans out on the same houses over and over again. That's kind of what gives Orlando an edge to me, is the authenticity of not constantly recycling the same old houses every year.
Yeah, we're very spoiled, to say the least.
So, given a brief description of the movie, it's a woman seeks comfort in her in-laws in their remote house, where she loses her husband in a car accident. And however, after the discovery of an ancient book, the family reunion becomes a nightmare. So, I mean, anybody that's fans of the Evil Dead series, kind of the same sentiment, but this is a standalone movie, not really a sequel. But I guess we can kind of get more info when it drops in July.
Yeah, I'll definitely be seeing it, especially since this icon has stuck around the spec map for so long. Yeah, I could see it, like it's coming now. Plus, I mean, the code name is Car. Her husband dies in a car crash, and it's this has stayed at this spot also for the past two spec maps. So it's kind of like they're locking in the spot almost. But speaking of things changing, the next one at Soundstage 23B, the code name is Bus, and this is one of the few changes on the map from the Easter spec map. It was the rock fingers or the I love you sign in sign language, is now an upside down clock. And this is the worst kept secret. Everybody knew as soon as Stranger Things 5 came out, it was going to be coming back to Horror Nights. I recently watched the season over again, and now that I've watched it like with like a Horror Nights eye, like what I would think would be in like cool to see. There's a lot more things I could see from season 5, like just I mean, it's going to be Demogorgons again, like normal. You can have where the cave where Henry can't go inside, and you got Max. She's living in the cave inside Henry's mind. One of the things I would like to see is whenever Henry or Vecna, he takes all the children and he's got them housed inside of his mind, and they're in his lair, and he's trying to use because children are very easily influenced, so he's using their minds in order to bring his world down to it crash into the upside down, which is like a median in between his world and the actual world. And he's trying to bring down the world and collide into with the actual world.
Yeah.
And he's using their minds as a median to do that. And one of the scenes, they're all candles lit, they're all sitting at the table, and he's got control like over all their mind, and that's when the world starts coming down. And I could see that and being in like the house and be like a static scare, and you have everybody around the table and you don't know which one's real. Like that could be a good scare design. The Demogorgons, like when they're in the Wheeler house in the very first episode, would be like a good, like if we walk into the Wheeler's house and the Demogorgons coming through the wall, and then it's when it cuts over Mrs. Wheeler. Another scene, like a good scene, could be where the Demodogs are trying to come and kill Max in the real world in order to kill her in the mind of Henry. If they were to succeed, it would be like the fourth soul getting taken to open all the gates and stuff and collide the worlds. But Mrs. Wheeler blows up the Demodogs with like an oxygen tank and a dryer. That'd be a pretty cool scene because like it's like they're right up on top of them, and then they hear a noise. They go over to the dryer, and it's an oxygen tank just going in circles, and it's just heating up, and then it explodes.
Yeah, they should be able to have a lot to pull from to be able to fill this house out, and it really doesn't surprise me seeing this because why not capitalize on a newly released show that obviously has majority of the world's fandom. So
Yeah, it's now that I've watched it though, I could see a lot more things. I mean, I would still like for it to be a compilation house of all the seasons, the way you just touch everything and it'd be like a chef's kiss, like to the end of an era. Because like you had at HHN, you had the Walking Dead era, which Walking Dead came regularly, and now we're in like the Stranger Things, where every Stranger Things season has came, and it's like the end of the era because there's going to be no more Stranger Things now.
I mean, what
So
better year than year 35 to bring absolute heat? So hopefully they do it
yeah,
justice.
yeah. What about that next one, D?
So moving forward to Soundstage 24B, codename Train, it's going to be another change in location. The icon previously was the makeup set and is now looks to be a cage with a paw print on it with a human figure with an animal head, and it's cooking a human on a rotisserie over a fire. So possibly zoo animal hybrid, which we
Yeah,
previously kind of discussed in a different area on the first Easter spec map, and zoo possibly located in Cary, Ohio.
which
So
everything goes
what's
down in Cary, Ohio. Everything in HHN lore and everything, it happens in Cary, Ohio. And I personally hope that it is like instead of it just being like the animals in the zoo go crazy and they start killing all the staff and stuff like that, I would rather it be like a laboratory. Like the cages symbolizes like the cages that they keep them in inside the lab, and the human hybrids because it's a human body with it looks like a bear head on it.
Yeah.
I hope it's the human hybrids, and they go like they've had enough, and they take over the lab, and they're killing off the lab staff and stuff like that.
So kind of like a
Personally,
Halloween version of a Minotaur, but just like different animals.
yeah, like all kinds of different animals. You get Bat Tilda, which has been in previous scare zones and what's it called tribute stores, stuff like that. She could be in this house because she was technically like a human hybrid. She had legs and all and wings. What else could be there? I mean, the Minotaur, stuff like that. It'd be cool to see. I'm intrigued for it. I think it's going to be it's a cool concept, especially if it's the human hybrids in like a in the zoo in Cary or a lab in Cary.
Yeah, it
That
wouldn't be a bad to go in there and just watch the whole laboratory process, let them get made, and then at the very end, everything just wreaks havoc.
yeah, even if it's like where they test like different things on humans to see if it affects them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the next
So
one is Soundstage 24A. The code name is Chariot. It was the upside down clock. It is now an actual rock sign or the devil horns. It's not I love you anymore. They changed it. It's the actual rock sign.
they must have
And
watched our first episode.
it was a big uproar in the community actually. But
Yeah,
the possibilities are like a Ozzy Osbourne house or a rock band IP, like maybe
that wouldn't be bad.
Ice Nine Kills or Poppy, something like that. If it's Ozzy, you know it's going to be a tribute. And let like over the holidays, Jack Osbourne, his son, he had a live stream with his wife, and somebody in the thing asked, "It was there going to be an Ozzy house or at Halloween Horror Nights?" And he looked at that, and you could tell he didn't know how to answer it because it hasn't been announced. He like fumbled his words and was like, "Next question."
Probably some NDAs involved.
Yeah, because you could tell he was like, "I don't know how to respond to this." What he should have done was not even read the question, but that just like further pushes that there's going to be an Ozzy house this year, which I'm down for.
Yeah.
It's the Prince of Darkness. I mean, it's going to be an absolute tribute. You know, the family's going to sign off on everything. So
And it would make sense coming shortly after his
yeah,
passing.
it's
So
been about a year
yeah,
now. So you know, it's going to be they're going to do it justice.
yeah. So we're gonna move further into the map and the Fast and Furious area. Code name Helicopter. Still the same blood and guts, where it's still guts with blood dripping off of it. So HR blood and guts, which we briefly touched on during our Easter spec map breakdown. So H&R Blood and Guts was a host of a house from HHN 21 in 2011. The name of the house was HR Blood and Guts Presents Holiday of Horror with the main character of Larry Kurtzberg. You want to give us a brief history
Yeah,
behind
it's
Mr. Kurtzberg?
Larry Kurtzberg. He was an actor, and he found fame quickly, and then he stepped away from acting, and he was longing for that, like people noticing him, like he wanted the fame back after stepping away. So he went and to a talent agency, and the talent agent was actually an icon named Chance in disguise, and she found him a gig in Cary, Ohio, for his news station, where he was the host of a late night horror show called HR Blood and Guts Presents the Holidays of Horror. And it was just like it was a horror show that went through like the different holidays. Like, so you had 4th of July, New Year's, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter. You had all the different holidays, but it was like a messed up horror version of it. So on Easter, you had the Feaster Bunny, which was a bloody Easter bunny who would attack and stuff like that. 4th of July, you had like bottle rockets, stuff like that. The producer of the show notified Larry that the ratings were going down and that the show was actually going to be canceled. And this sent Larry into like a downward spiral, basically. He went crazy. And he decided that he wanted to perform the series one more time. So he captured all of the crew, the producer, and everybody, and did HR Blood and Guts Presents Holidays of Horror, but with actual people, like tortured them, stuff like that, and had them in each set for each holiday. And like he ended up killing the producer in the 4th of July scene. He shoved like a rocket inside of his mouth, lit it on fire, stuff like that. And he was actually arrested. And of course, you know, he showed no remorse for doing what he did because he was becoming the horror host. He was no longer Larry. He wanted to be HR Blood and Guts, and so he had no remorse for anything that he did. Which in the house, it's you walking through each different set, and like the Q video, it was just the show basically, like show like what they would show on TV, like the props and stuff. But in the house, it was there was actual scare actors portraying the characters, stuff like that.
Gotcha. So if we take one of our longer walks throughout the park, it then leads us to tent number 4. So you want to tell us more about that?
Yeah, tent number 4. The code name is Tractor. It was a lighter and 2 cigarettes, but it's now pins and a pincushion. This has been around on every single spec map. It's actually been around the longest. I first heard this rumor last year while we were at HHN in like late October, and it's stuck around for this long. I mean, it's good. It's a better chance than not, unless something was to happen and back out, that the IP Hellraiser is going to become.
Yeah, hopefully we don't have a Hollywood type
I
situation
doubt it.
happen in Orlando.
Yeah, I doubt it. It's been around for so long. It's been a rumor, like I said, since late October. So it's more than likely going to be coming, if I had to guess. I mean, it's
one of the most confirmed but not confirmed.
Yeah,
houses.
it's been around for so long. It's expected now. I would be more surprised if it doesn't come than if it did.
Yeah.
We're just waiting on the announcement now, but I'm looking forward to it, mostly because he's only been to the event one time, and that was in like a compilation house. It's like he hadn't had his own a house or whatever, and it's in one of the new tents. It's tent 4, so it's one of the bigger tents. This is like where Gawkin or Fallout was located last year, so it's a big tent.
Yeah,
so they're gonna have big sets and stuff like that.
And the most horror fans, I mean, Pinhead has got just as much of a case to be a horror icon as anybody like Jason or Freddy. I mean, it's more in the 80s, 90s era, but it still has some nostalgic stature when it comes to the rankings of the horror sphere.
Yeah, most people, like if you were to show a picture of Pinhead, they would know who Pinhead is, but they wouldn't know it's Hellraiser. Like, yeah. So I mean, and if you haven't done your homework, you haven't ever seen Hellraiser, I would recommend like the original Hellraiser, that one, and like the second one. It pretty much gives you the gist of the whole franchise as a whole without having to go through like 10 movies. I wouldn't suggest the remake. The remake's not that great of a film. The original's actually good, so I would go with the original.
Yeah, the remakes really aren't everyone's cup of tea, but you can't really go wrong with the original. So we're gonna take a step next door to tent number 3, same area, codename Hearst, and this has now been recently confirmed to be Sinners. I could speak for the both of us that we're both super hyped for this house. I mean, I think we're both super fans when it comes to the actual movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
If you want a further in-depth breakdown, we actually did that last episode. Episode 3, we did a breakdown of both it and Jack versus Oddfellow Chaos and Control. So more information to come in further episodes. But if you just want some details, check out our last episode.
Yeah, Sinners. It's we talked about like all the things we would want in the house, what our facade, like our dream facade for the house would be, and like stuff like that.
Yeah, but must have what our wants and wishes are, and like what are some like must sees, and
like our must see. Like we both agreed would be the "I lied to you" scene, where Sammy pierces the veil, and you have all the different cultures. And Ramon, which is the writer for this house, he pretty much confirmed in a tweet that scene was going to be in the house.
Yeah.
So that came out shortly after the announcement, and Ramon, he was the writer, so he said that scene. So we got one of our wants or must sees in the house confirmed already.
Yeah. So like just speaking to the other 2 years that I went to HHN, this will be my 3rd year. So 2 years ago, Insidious was the house. Like I could not wait to see, and it was probably my most repeated house I went through. And then last year was definitely Terrifier. So this is my new Insidious and Terrifier for this year.
Yeah, for sure. And a brief description of this house. It says, "Sinners, take a bite out of the award-winning original horror. In a 1930s Mississippi, libations flow freely and the guitar screams fill the air at the Smokestack Twins juke joint. But the blues become red when Remick's trope of bloodthirsty vampires crash the party and test blood's true bond. Brave this terrifying house based on the award-winning original film, Sinners."
Without saying, I mean, it's definitely going to be a fan favorite.
Yeah,
Hopefully it delivers.
dude.
I don't have any doubt that it won't deliver. Just
Imagine though. That's two. All right. Normally, the IPs are all up front in the sound stages, like where Jack and Evil Dead Burns. This year, though, we have
those
we have
cues
two.
back there are going to be floated in the back.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. We have two originals up front. Like, so we got Jack and Oddfellow. That's an original, and we have the Cage with the human rotisserie. That's an original also. And then in these two tents, you have two big IPs.
Usually it's swapped.
Yeah, normally all the big IPs are up front, which I'm kind of glad. Well, I'm not. I am, but I'm not, because originally what you would do, if you could knock out a bunch of houses if you went to the back and skipped all the IP houses up front. But with them being split up, two up front and two in the back, it's gonna.
Me personally, I think this is great marketing and layout by Universal and HHN, because to me, this is going to do nothing but sell out express passes, because you're going to have a big queue up front and a big queue in the back.
Yep.
So there's no.
So guess what that means?
There's no skip. There's no
Guess
skipping
what that
this year.
means? The ones in the middle, we might be hitting up a lot, because like our blood and guts, stuff like that. Even the ones we haven't gotten to yet on the spec, those are original houses, but they're probably going to have a shorter wait time. So we might could go through that like one after another, like boom, boom, boom. Yeah, because just keep hitting.
Last year, your biggest cues were up front with FNAF, Terrifier, and even Jason Universe at Fast and Furious. But now I can see Fast and Furious having one of the more shorter cues.
Yeah, it's an original. Which there's a lot of HR Blood and Guts fans, but it's definitely, it looks like it's more spread out. You have three IPs up front. You got Stranger Things and Evil Dead Burns, and if it's an Ozzy house. And then you have Sinners and Pinhead in the back. So it's more spread out evenly instead of everybody being up front and everybody being in the back, which Fallout was in the back, but, it was Fallout. It wasn't like Sinners or Pinhead.
Yeah, it was about a 50-50 chance if those queues in the back of the tents were going to be short or at least halfway full. I could see this year they're completely at capacity.
Typically, Gawkin had a longer wait than Fallout did in the back.
Yeah.
But we'll go on to that next.
Go on to tent number 2.
Yep, tent number 2. The code name is Wagon. The icon has changed. It was the cage with the human figure. It is now a lipstick with a DNA strand on it. And the possibilities could maybe be BuzzCon Cosmetics. Her cosmetics gone wrong. This is basically going to be like a body horror house. But if it's BuzzCon trying out their next adventure and steps into the cosmetic world, it's going to go terribly wrong. When you put the product on, it's going to either like you're going to grow an extra ear, you're going to turn into a monster or something like that. Like it's going to be body horror. But with the DNA strand, it tells me something different, because the last icon, it had all the different beauty products and it had the little toxic sign, which told you BuzzCon. This one's just a DNA strand. So BuzzCon could not even be related to it now. It could just be like a beauty products going wrong, cosmetology going wrong. And like it alters your DNA and it turns you into a monster. Something like that. Or like a crazed, like you put it on, it changes your genetic code and turns you crazy and you turn into like a crazed killer kind of deal.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's still cool.
Traits.
Yeah, it's still cool. I mean, I'm here for it. Vanity Ball, it could be something to do with Vanity Ball, BuzzCon. That'd be cool. It'd be callbacks from former scare zones and houses, stuff like that.
Well, we'll definitely have to check that out. But if you go right next door to tent number 1, code name is Shuttle, and it is essentially an alien with a cowboy hat. on. And some of the possibilities, Invasion as a house was a scare zone at HHN 27 back in 2017, but it's in like an Area 51 type setting or out west. Also, maybe Invasion via Lightning Gulch. Uh, Lightning Gulch was a town in the house, Ghost Town, The Curse of Lightning Gulch back in 2016, HHN 26. So, a brief description on that was when lightning strikes, the curse of Lightning Gulch comes to life, and this ghostly town appears. These doomed souls who once searched for gold and then they found death and destruction. Now they seek out others to join them. So,
Yeah.
kind of the same
Which,
sentiment as number two, kind of an original brought back in some type of facet that could be interesting to see what they put out.
yeah, it's the Curse of Lightning Gulch. It was basically like a gold rush town, and there was people there. Everybody was greedy, stuff like that. So there was a lot of killings. It was kind of like Hatchet and Chains, like a western, except for it was a gold rush. So think of like the 49ers or stuff like that, like all the heading out west, doing the gold rush towns, wagons, stuff like that.
And as we've seen in the recent years, any type of Western house or cowboy house, it's always been a banger.
Yep, absolutely. And with it being invasion, I mean that's pretty. It's aliens. It's goofy aliens, but
Sometimes you need a little bit of scary humor to break up.
Yeah, like that. I could see this being the comedy house of the year, especially with both of those. Because Lightning Gulch, you had like an iconic line like "Where's my gold?" stuff like that.
Well, I mean, even a little bit of goofy. I mean,
it's still gonna have good scares though.
One of the best horror franchises in history had some humor behind it. I mean, everybody likes the Scream series, so there's always some humor in Ghostface type movies, to the point where they ended up creating a scary movie franchise of its own by the Wayans brothers, which is also about to drop their new movie. I believe it's the first weekend of June, so next Friday. So I'm definitely going to check that out.
Yeah, you always got to have a little bit of levity to your horror.
For sure. So go ahead and take us into some scares on now that we've wrapped up the 10 house speculations.
Alrighty. A couple of them have changed since the last spec map. Like the first intro scare zone, it's right when you walk into the park. So it was just the big top, like the circus tent. It is now the big top with 35 years. And hopefully this is just like your icons walking around. We walk into the Infernal Carnival of Nightmares, and they do the actual concept they showed where it had the string lights coming down. It looks like an actual circus, and maybe since the 35 years is added on, it's the best of the past 35 years, whether that's a scare actor from a house, icons, stuff like that. So it's gonna be just your intro zone, but it's also gonna be you walking into the past.
So if we keep moving down the street, we'll enter the New York zone. This one hadn't changed, just a generic clown rumor, mix of original ideas of clowns and maybe some previous house icons. So maybe some Terrifier cameos where you see art roaming the streets in New York.
Killer clowns
in space.
Which that I'm excited to see. If Killer Clowns are back, it's gonna be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just going to be a big, like, just carnies, like stuff like that.
And as we all know, though, in scary settings like haunted houses or haunted forests, it really don't have to have any type of meaning to a group of clowns or where they actually came from. That's going to be a hit no matter what.
A lot of people are scared of clowns too. So I can see a lot of people running, even though I don't think they'll have the chainsaws in this because of one of the other icons on the map, but I could see them having like weapons and stuff, like a big mallet for like the carnival game. You know, when you have to hit the thing and the bell goes up. I could see them having like stuff like that, like different kind of weapons. If Killer Clowns does come back, they got their little balloon animals and stuff.
Yeah,
so that'd be nice. But we're gonna keep on going around, and Central Park is our next scare zone, and unfortunately, the banana icon still remains. Fort Nightmares. I was hoping this was going to change, but it looks like it's sticking around. It looks like we're going to be having Fortnite this year.
Maybe they'll get even more backlash to where they'll take it away, but it's probably going to make them
It's
so
gonna
much
come.
money that
It's going
there's
to
no
come.
way we were going to get rid of it.
No, it's going to come. It's 100% probably going to come. But I don't like it in Central Park. I don't know how it really works. It's already a condensed scare zone because it's so tight when you're walking in, because you're walking down the path and you have the trees on both sides. So honestly, I don't know exactly what they're going to do. I think it's going to be more so like original Fortnite characters than IP characters, because that would be too much of a rights and legal battle and money battle to
Yeah.
try to, like, I could see a couple of Blumhouse characters, like the dude from Black Phone. He might be in that because he's in Fortnite Mares.
The Happy Death Day doll.
Yeah, like stuff like that. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre dude. He's been at Universal Halloween Horror Nights a lot. Maybe Mikey, he decides to show up in this because Michael Myers has been in HHN a lot.
Is Art the Clown in a DLC in Fortnite? So maybe you can kind of, since they're right there next to each other, he can be hybrid in between the clown.
If it's like zone. That, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be like the roaming Art from last year, which would be cool. I mean, he'd be on his little tricycle, but I just hope this year people give him space to where because like at the beginning of the season last year, Art, you could find Art everywhere, and then he blew up on TikTok and social media and stuff, and you got to see him less and less.
I think it's part of that. Some people would show up to the park just so they could go track him down with their phone and create a video.
Yeah, try to get them views up. But hopefully, if Art is roaming this year, which I hope he is, because I love seeing him, and he's just great. Like, they can bring back all the same scare actors. Every Art last year was amazing. But I hope people actually give him space to where people who come at the end of the season can enjoy him just as much as the people that come in the beginning of the season.
We shall see. We push further down the street. We'll go to Hollywood's scare zone. The image was 35 years now, a clock set to 12 o'clock, and there is a fire at the top of it.
Yeah.
Some of the possibilities, the Caretaker, Cindy Kane, or maybe a Nightmare fuel zone. Caretaker was an icon in 2002 at Islands of Fear and took over for Cindy. Dr. Albert Kane was a well-respected surgeon and became the caretaker of Shady Oak Cemetery. And Kane was interested in how the body worked, often wondered what happened to the person when they die. So Kane became the caretaker, began performing experiments in order to find and discover the nature of the soul. Kane would like the freshest of specimens to perform his experiments on, and he would go into a nearby town to find homeless people and offer them some help and invite them back to his mansion. Yeah, and a home. But instead of helping, he would then perform horrifying surgeries on them, carving them up and on an operating table, and while they were restrained and oftentimes unconscious.
Still conscious.
Still conscious.
Like, they would still be wide awake. They wouldn't have no sedative or nothing. It'd just be like you laying down, strapped down to a table. He'd perform, like, go in and cut out stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
So Cindy was the caretaker's daughter, who was said to be the original icon of Islands of Fear in 2002, but was unused due to the recent disappearances of children throughout Central Florida during that time period. So she was shelved for caretaker, but Cindy was a young girl with blonde hair who was raised in Good Harvest homes of orphans in Cary, Ohio. She has some form of psychic power, but she burned down the orphanage.
Cindy Kane, she was an orphan at this orphanage, and she basically burnt the orphanage to a crisp, killing everyone inside. Well, like, the souls and stuff stayed inside this building, and she was reborn from the ashes, causing her hair and turned it black, and she became the caretaker's daughter whenever he became the overseer at the funeral.
Yeah.
And so that's how it was kind of retconned in, because she was originally supposed to be Paul Bearer, like the WWE Paul Bearer was originally supposed to be his daughter.
That'd be a nice shout.
Yeah, but I don't know if it was a rights issue or whatever. Paul didn't want that to happen anymore.
Probably
So
so.
they changed it to where they retconned it to where Sydney is now the caretaker's daughter. That's why it's Cindy Kane. It was Cindy Bear, but she was supposed to be the original icon for Islands of Fear in 2002. And
Probably wasn't a bad move to scrap it at the
yeah,
time of it.
they when stuff like that happens, like during the time period, she was set to be. There was a bunch of abductions of children in the area, so it wasn't.
It was probably
It was
frowned
kind
upon
of
to put that
yeah,
out as your main advertisement.
yeah. Basically, it was a child that was a murderer, basically. But she she was put on the shelf and has not came back since. Like this will be well, she was in one. She was in a house called Ashes to Ashes, but that was her only other tie-in, like to the event since then.
Hopefully, we'll get to see her this year. If we push to just some street experiences throughout the park, you obviously got the skate at Mel Die-In. Zombie servers are back. A record with some headphones, but now we have got a small icon of Pumpkin Lord added. So maybe
Yeah,
a Wicked Growth style club horror or pumpkins all along the truss and just classic Halloween themed. Also, chainsaw at the Simpsons area. So looks like the chainsaw clown horde is back, which is always a good thing.
back to the club horror with the little icon of Pumpkin Lord. Pumpkin Lord was he was a icon a couple years ago, and he was the main dude in the house Wicked Growth. And so if that if he's gonna be in club horror, I hope they theme up the entire like trust system and stuff like that. Like you know how they did the pumpkins in the trees and they were all illuminated last year. Maybe they do the same thing with the truss, like put pumpkins going in vines and stuff all going up the truss, and you have Pumpkin Lord up there DJing or in his giant pumpkin that was at the front of the park whenever it was his icon year where he would greet guests, had a live mic and all. I hope they tone down the burping and farting that he was doing, like because that
Yeah.
turned him into a meme basically, to where people no longer think of Pumpkin Lord from Wicked Growth, where he was like vicious and scary,
Mm-hmm.
to now he's just like a funny dude.
Yeah. Hopefully that gets toned down a lot.
Yeah, it's because like when you walked in, all you would see is him burping, and then he'd fart and like fog and come out the backside of the pumpkin like it was a fart mist kind of deal.
Yeah. I'm not going to HHN to see any of that.
Yeah, so hopefully, if he is in the club horror, it'll be toned down a good bit. It'll be themed pretty well, and either he'll be up there doing the mixtape on as the DJ, or he'll be like a little side show thing, like inside the scare or street experience, not scare zone. But next we got shows. And Fear Factor stage, it's still the four little shot glasses or the four blocks that could spell out Jack. And hopefully it's a either Jack's Carnival of Carnage or like a Jack and Oddfellow show or all icons show, which would be
Yeah.
cool, especially if you haven't seen any of the other icons. You get to see them all in one spot. That would be pretty sweet. But most Jack's Carnival of Carnage shows, it was like a comedy show essentially, except for he would kill people. So like they would throw they used to throw like body parts out into the crowd and stuff like that. Like they would be a plant in the crowd, they'd call them up on stage kind of deal. So hopefully if it is the Carnival of Carnage, it'd be something like that. It'd be a funny, like a comedy horror show essentially. Yeah, I mean you're still gonna have all the pyro and stuff like that. It won't be sexy, like unless they get Jack up there in like some lingerie or something. That would be funny. But if they did like Jack was making fun of the Nightmare Fuel show,
It'd just be nice not to have the same show every year.
yeah, it's going to be different. The only, like, whenever we were talking about the clock fire down here, it's a rumor right now that it could be a Nightmare Fuel kind of zone because that setting is very carnival-y because you got acrobatics and stuff like that, like normally that you would see at the circus. That's the only reason like that is, but I mean, The caretaker always carried a pocket watch, so that's the clock and the fire on top of it. Which Cindy Kane, she set the orphanage on fire, so maybe that's just that. But the
Could
next
be.
one
Yeah.
is gonna be the Lagoon Show, and it's just the water guys are shooting up. From what I'm hearing, could be a straight IP show. If not, then maybe it's a new version of Ghoulish, which last year's version of Ghoulish was the exact same show except for without blinding lights from the weekend. Because
Yeah.
whenever the Ghoulish show first came about, the weekend house was at HHN, and so it had blinding lights at the end. And they didn't change anything the way how the water would shoot up. It was still coded as if it was for blinding lights, but they changed the song, so it didn't really match. But of course, they didn't have the rights to blinding lights for this past year, so they couldn't use it. So they had swapped the song. So hopefully, if it is just Ghoulish, it's a whole new version. We get all new like projections and stuff like that. Or I've heard of this multiple times now throughout the season that it's a heavily influenced show like with Stranger Things. So if we don't get the compilation in the house, maybe it's a compilation of Stranger Things on the Lagoon show.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be fine with any of those options for the Lagoon Show. I mean, we typically try to end the night with something like that. Nice little break in between the backside of the houses in the park. And if you want to take a stop at the show, end it with the water geyser show. It's always a nice little touch to end the night before you make that long walk back to the car.
But that's our whole walk around the park. We just did probably about 20,000 steps figuratively. Also, there's been recent things happening in Boris Schuster's office over in New York. Kevin Heimbach posted it on X, and it was a poster, and it's partly ripped off, and it's talking about the show of oddities or whatever, and it's got a street address on it. Well, every year in Boris Schuster's office, they put stuff in hints about the tribute store. Well, the tribute store last year was in the arcade. Well, normally it's over in New York in the Mummy extended queue. Well, and on this poster, it had an address on there. I think it was like 1208 or something, Fifth Avenue, which is Fifth Avenue is the New York street, like where the Mummy is located. And the extended queue has a actual physical address on it, and it's the number that was on there, which tells me that the tribute store is actually going to be back in its rightful place of the Mummy extended queue. It wasn't there last year because of the construction on the Hollywood Drift Coaster that's coming that took over for Rip Ride Rocket. But with tribute store going back to its rightful spot, which means we're going to be in for a lot better tribute store than last year, because it just felt like it was packed in and there wasn't no like theming to it as it was like your first year when we walked in.
Yeah, last year really didn't flow traffic wise either. Like, it just seems like they just threw us in a space
Yeah,
that
it was.
didn't really make sense for what they put in it.
What's crazy is that space that we were in was like literally one room of like the other tribute store, but it had everything in it.
Yeah. That would be very refreshing to put it back in its rightful spot and
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
not feel as kind of thrown
And
to the side and a little hole in the wall because the real thing wasn't available.
yeah, and below Boris's office is Madame Cruzel, which she was like a street performer from like the early Horror Nights, like in the '90s. And in her, they made her like a whole office below her, and it's got like a dummy in it, and it also has a poster laying in there, and it says it's like kind of like the other half of this poster that's ripped off from Boris's office, and it says that Madame Cruzel will be at this oddities show or whatever. So that tells me like maybe it's going to be like Midway Bizarro or what I think is what it was called. Like maybe she will be in the house, so like the tribute store theme might be like sideshow stuff, like where you got the dude with the stretchy skin, stuff like that, like a carnival sideshow kind of deal theming, which would be pretty cool. It'd be on brand with the rest of the spec map and theming of this year.
That wouldn't be a bad idea to bring her back.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is just is I'm just glad if it is true that it's going back where it should be. That way we actually get a real tribute store this year.
It seems like this is going to be the year of nostalgia. They're bringing back a lot of
But yeah, they do that. They do this every
anniversary year.
anniversary year. They do callbacks throughout. That's normally what an anniversary is. It calls back to a lot of previous things, but like new iterations of it.
Yeah. Well, looks like we're in for a treat this year. So thank you guys for watching. If you like what you saw, subscribe, hit the reminder button.
Hit that bell.
Absolutely. Tell a friend about us. If you got any ideas on future episodes, leave a comment. We love you guys' feedback. Again, you can catch us on our socials at Into the Fog Pod on both IG and TikTok, and Into the Fog HHN on X and YouTube. So leave us some feedback on any of our platforms. And thank you guys for watching. And we'll see you guys on the next one.
Appreciate y'all.